I'd like to talk about today a topic that we're focused on two ideas that I think are so important, fundamental, and I don't know, both of these really speak to me. So I get excited. That's true. I can't teach something that doesn't speak to me. You're right. There's a real important message here. Let's learn it. Yaakov Avinu's name is changed twice in this week's Parsha. We have first when he fights with the angel, right? He wrestled with him and he said, "Let me go, for dawn has broken." And he said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." And he said to him, "What is your name?" And he replied, "Yaakov." He said, "No longer will be said that your name is Yaakov, but Yisrael. For you have striven with the divine and with man and have overcome." So Yisrael is about fighting, the struggle with godly angel, and with man you've overcome. Yisrael, from the word sarita, to struggle. And then later in the parsha, Kadosh Baruch Hu comes to him in Beit El, and God appeared to Yaakov again. He came from Padan Aram and he blessed him. And then God said to him, this is in the Hebrew, it's really awkward. Your name is Yaakov. Your name, they adding, shall not always be called Yaakov. But Israel shall be your name, right? Your name shouldn't always be Yaakov, but should be Yisrael. Thus he called his name Yisrael. Now, what's strange here is that his name is changed to Yisrael, but in no way does that take away from what? The Yaakov. Yeah? Your name is Yaakov, but your name won't always be called Yaakov, it's Yisrael. And indeed, we find in source number 2 that both Avraham Avinu and Yaakov's names are changed. Avraham, anyone who calls Avram is over a lav. You're not allowed to call Avraham Avinu Avram. But you are allowed to call Yaakov. And how do I know this? Because Hashem himself calls him what? Yaakov, yeah.
Yaakov is pronoun, and Yisrael is when he's the head of the nation. But they have different roles.
Oh, so what you're doing is answering. You're answering, which is good. What is the difference? Why do we need to have both Yaakov and Yisrael? So you're offering, one is more of a personal, one is a national. Others say that Yaakov is when we are on a lower footing, and Yisrael is when we are on a higher stage. You're answering the questions, but I first want to ask it. And the question is, source 4, why is the change of Avram's name so complete that mentioning the old name is transgression, while Yaakov's old name, although demoted to a secondary status, is what you're saying, remains usable? What is the significance of having both a Yaakov and a Yisrael name? That's our question for today. I want to make mention, it's not going to be our focus. There's so much here to focus in on that it's like a struggle. You know, this is my Yisrael struggle, what to choose. I will make mention in source 3 that while the angel changes his name, he gives a reason. Ki saritem elokim v'anashim v'tuchal. When Hashem, on the other hand, gives him the name, he gave no reason for the change at all. All he says is what? Your name, Israel, shall be your name. Now, you'll say to me, what he's doing is ratifying what the angel said. You're answering. There's still the question. And we'll see very soon that not only is he giving a stamp to what the Malach said, he's really undoing what the Malach said. But I'm not there yet. So let's just do a few ideas just to get our feet wet. And then today we're really going to focus in 2 ideas. We're mamish going to work through two mimers, and that's where we're going to go. Okay, but let's just get our feet wet. How do I know that the name change of Avram is complete and the name change of Yaakov isn't? So the Medrash says in source number 5, you see it from the words. By Yaakov Avinu, it says, V'haya shimcha Avraham, which means it was. This is it. The change was. By Yaakov Avinu, it says, Yisrael, next word is, Yihiyah Shmecha, will be your name. Will be means it's really not fully your name yet, and it will only really fully be your name when what? When? When Mashiach comes, when the Geula comes, exactly. Now, what's the difference? So we know, I love names. In source 6, the idea of names. Shekola shemot shenotnim avot liyaldehem. Einam ela shemot, this is based on the Yochaim HaKadosh, ha'ikarim asher Hashem yiparach kara l'neshama, ba'odah ba'olam ha'elyon. We know that parents get Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration, when they name children. And these are the names that Hashem has envisioned for the neshama in Shemayim. Hashem has a vision of, because a name isn't just a name. Shem, from the word sham, there. That is who you are. This is your essence. This is what defines you. That's why parenthetically, if somebody has 2 names, they should call their children both names, or 3 names, or grandchildren, or great-grandchildren, whatever generation you're up to, because that's the koach of the child. So to only naming, or ourselves, forget our children, only giving one name, it's almost like I say, living your life with one hand tied behind your back. Because you're not fully what? Accessing and actualizing the fullness of who you are. This is where it's at. The name, the shame, the neshama is the essence. You had a question?
But if you only were given one name.
That's it. So that's who you are. Matovu manoim. Great. You're not missing anything. Fakir. In fact, they say it's better to give one name because you have more focus on what you are developing within you. I will say, as the Tzadok HaKohen Zal would say, that if you want to wake a person up, say their name. Right? You mention their name, they wake up because you're waking up their neshama. They're waking up the core of who they are. So here we understand who named Avram Avinu? TORAH. What type of Ruach HaKodesh did he have? 0. So his name obviously wasn't really his name. On the other hand, who named Yaakov Avinu? Al Kain Kara Shemo Yaakov. So Chazal give 2 interpretations. One is Ribono Shalom himself named him. And one is Yitzchak Avinu named him. Both of them, trust me, have what? Have a connection to the divine. So therefore, his name could not be uprooted because that name in itself is a what? Is a name connected to the essence of Yaakov Avinu. And what that name is about, we're soon going to see. And that's why in source 7, the Ibn Ezra teaches, Lo yikare od shimcha Yaakov livado. Kigam Yisrael. He adds those words. Your name won't only be, but will also be. He also brings down here that Avram Avinu in 7, his name is included. Avram means you are the father of like a small group. Avraham is you are father of the nation. So the name encompasses his old name. Well, Yaakov Avinu has a different reason. Why was his name Yaakov? In the squiggly, Shiado ochesed ba'kev Esav, that his whole essence is about holding on, grabbing onto the heel of Esav, which is about the idea of being ne'evak, the idea of struggle. He notes in source number 8 that Ba'olam mikubal shekasher adam ole b'darga, that when a person goes up a level, harei dargato kodemen eina relevantit od. You know, a person becomes a mayor and then a chaver knesset, so they forget their mayorness and they're just focused on their what? Chaver knessetness. In Yiddishkeit, it doesn't work that way. Aval baruch nir kol darga v'darga adayin kayemet. Every part of me builds onto the next part. So Yaakov is not supplanted by Yisrael. The Yaakovness, and we'll see this in depth today, Mirz Hashem, builds the Yisrael. It makes the Yisrael who he is. I'll just add 1 or 2 more nekudas and then we'll begin our study. The Bemelech Rav Mintzberg points out, like there's so much here you don't know, like I'm just giving a taste, is that when did Avram Avinu get his name? When he had a bris milah. When he had a bris milah, which means it was like he was reborn. He was being recreated. He's becoming Jewish, so to speak. So therefore, it makes sense that that's why he gets a what? A new name, which is what happens on a bris. We get a name, yeah? With Yaakov Avinu, on the other hand, it's not that he was just Yaakov in 10. Biram b'nischono zeh lo bitla ma'uto shel Yaakov. Elo shebenosaf al mamado kilocheim nitosef go bo gam inyan nitzachon. Yaakov Avinu is about both. He struggles and he's victorious. He struggles and he's victorious. He keeps the identity of what? Of both names. You know, this just came to my head, so I'm sharing with you, but it's just because I love names. And in this book, which Emir Hashem is going to come out. It is. It is.
Amen.
Thank you. We're working on it. You know, it's like funny. I spoke to one of the editors yesterday. She says, "Where are we holding?" I said, "End of life." I said, "No, that does not sound good." End of life chapter. Okay, that's, you know. So in the Sefer we speak about, did you ever notice, both at a bris and by naming a girl, that the father will whisper the name to the announcer? That's a good way of saying it. Whoever has the bracha or the gabbai who's saying the mishabera, you never see them writing it on a sheet of paper and handing them. Have you ever seen that?
I've always wondered about that, because sometimes it's like, what?
Right, exactly. That's why I'm saying that. Like, they don't get it. Could you repeat it? And I have been at brises where they've gotten what? The wrong name. I've gotten the wrong name. I'm sure you have been there too. And no, that's not the name. So why are they whispering it? What's you hear the question? Just write it down. Okay, Shabbos, you write it beforehand. What's the problem? It's because the name is so sublime and special. The whisper is that medium of bringing it from the higher places down to this world. And there's something very, very powerful at that moment. Get the book, get the story. And meanwhile, if you haven't gotten this book, it's still available. Wait till the next one comes out. You're never going to hear the end of it. Yeah.
Just wanted to plug your book, because I just got it last week and I couldn't put it down. It's fabulous and everything.
Great. Do you hear the plug for the book? It's fabulous. It's great, which means it's a great gift to give to people. Hanukkah's coming. Hello. Gifts.
It'll be out by Hanukkah.
No,
This one I'm saying, no, that one is far, 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 far. Next Hanukkah, I'll be happy. Okay, here we go.
Some people give these new little names, you know, these modern names now.
Yes, I know.
Right after the Torah.
I know.
Has also brought down those names?
I try not to get into any ideas that are going to be controversial because I want to sell my book. So I don't talk about what names you should name your children. I do want to speak about, let me just mention one or two more nakudos and then I'm going to begin today. And that is Rabbi Bernstein brings from the Rav Yaakov Edlinger. Very beautiful idea. He says, we would think that he's endorsing, ratifying the angel's words. I'm going to love it. However, upon closer introspection, we will discover that not only was Hashem not endorsing the angel's words, he was actually reversing them. The key lies in the verb used in both blessings. The angel says, "Lo ya'amer," it shall not be said. When right, "Lo ya'amer," it shall not be said. Your name is Yaakov, but Yisrael. By Hashem, it says, "Lo yikareh," he shall not be called. So you'll say, "Ya'amer yikareh." It's really what? It's semantics. Oh no, not in Chumash. What's the difference? So typically one calls someone who's at a distance. Hey, could you come over here? That's calling. When the person is there, now I'm what? I'm speaking to them. Calling thus denotes distance, while saying denotes proximity. Within the context of referring to a future event, this means that calling refers to the distant future, while saying refers to the near future. The transition from Yaakov to Yisrael is certainly a positive one for Yaakov himself. However, as the third and final patriarch of the Jewish people, could be potentially disastrous. The Jewish people themselves comprise different levels, with a higher level obtaining the status of Yisrael, while the lower level assumes the status of Yaakov. As long as this imperfect division applies, both groups need a patriarch whose merit they can invoke and whose patronage they can enjoy. This means that as long as there's a group among the Jewish people called Yaakov, there needs to be a patriarch called Yaakov. Esav's angels sought to capitalize on Yaakov's personal success and say, now that you have graduated to the status of Yisrael, may you soon transition into that name, leaving your earlier name Yaakov behind, as well as all those among your descendants who will need it. From this point on, only those who qualify as Yisrael can claim a connection with you. Let it be said. When should it be said? Right now. Kadosh Baruch Hu says, no, no, no. As long as there are descendants who need a Yaakov Avinu, your name will always be there to be of help to them, that they can rely on your schus, on your merit. Let it be said, let it be called. When is the calling? In the distant future. When all the people will be holding on a level of Yisrael, then you can be called what? Yisrael. Yeah.
Can I ask, was the angel before Rachel died and Hashem told him after Rachel died?
What would make the difference?
I was just building on last week was that when, you said that if the progression had happened the way it should and both Rachel and Leah would have been very good,
Right.
then we would have been in
Right, then, right.
Then you wouldn't need the name.
Right,
anymore.
right.
So,
Right. I hear. The Shemana Tov in source 12 says the fact that the Malach gives a reason, it means that only when that reason is there are you Yisrael. Hashem not giving a reason means that it's what? This is who you are. Anytime you give a reason for something, what you're really doing is limiting it, defining it. Okay, my friends. Let's roll up our sleeves. I want to share two ideas here. Now we're going to begin the shir. That was just like the foreshbite to just whet our appetite. These are mamish two really stupendous ideas. We're ready? Great. Let's learn them inside. Idea number one is from the Eshlei Dat. It's source 13, but the 13 is cut off. It's under 12. That's how you'll find it. Yeah? I will say is that the Ribbono Shel Olam always leads everyone where they need to be. I buy mishpacha twice a year generally. That is Sukkot and Pesach. Chol Hamoed. I can't. Those are 2 times. And the Ribbono Shel Olam was so good to me. This sefer was advertised in mishpacha on the Sukkot edition. I would have never even known that it existed. So Ribbono Shel Olam is so good to me. We've used Rav Lopiansky, Washington, Silver Spring, yeah? Yeshiva, yeah, you're with me there. We've used his book, and we will today, Golden Apples in 17. So this is, Golden Apples is just on Breishi. This is on the entire Chumash, a mimer on each parsha. Absolutely stupendous. Ready? Here we go. He says, and we spoke about this last year, when the Malach says, Vayomer shalcheni ki ala shachar, let me go, dawn has risen. So the Malach says, V'tzarich ani lomar shira bayom, today is my day to sing Shira. So the Medrash says, the Gemara says, Vayom shenivreiti lo egias mani lomar shira ad achshav, from the time I was created, this is my first time singing Shira song to Hashem. We spoke about this at length in the past. Obviously, there's a connection between this story and this is the first time he's singing Shira. So he says, moving to the next paragraph, Ki sarite min Elokim v'narshim v'tuchal. He's given Yisrael because he's struggled with God and with man and has v'tuchal. He says, v'tuchal eina lashon shel nitzachon muchlat. V'tuchal doesn't mean he vanquished him completely. Yecholet hi efsharut la'achil tamavak v'lamshich hala. It means that I won this round, but guess what? He's going to come back. There's going to be more rounds. Avalo lashon hachra'a muchlatet. It wasn't a complete destruction. V'chen kach hayu pnei advarim. Lamrot sheYaakov yachol lo lamalach. we see this, even though that he won the battle, but he came out injured. This is not going to be the what? This is not going to be the final battle. And therefore, the name Yisrael is about winning, but knowing that there's more left to what? To deal with. Next paragraph. What's the idea of Shira? Right, we're building here, yeah? What's the idea of Shira? So the Gemara in Sanhedrin says, Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Meitim Shechya Yecheskel, Amdu al Raglehem va'amru Shira va'metu. Rabbi Eliezer said, the dry bones of Yecheskel that were revived, they stood on their feet. And it's a question, did they last for long? Did they not last for long? That's the Gemara in Sanhedrin deals with it. But Rabbi Eliezer said they stood on their feet as full human beings. They sang Shira and then died again. What's Pshat? So Katav Maral, I'm on the bottom right here, in the Chidushei Gados there, V'lefi chachamdu ragleim lefi shav amru Shira, Kein safek bo kemetim sheyichyu latid yamru Shira gam kein. I have a little secret to tell you. When all of the humanity becomes revived, they too will stand on their feet and sing Shira. Ulefichach amru Shira metu. Kamo malachim sheHashem yitbarach boreh lefi sha'av amru Shira v'shavim al makoma. Likewise, angels are created. They sing Shira, and they too what? Yeah, they disappear. Kach hayta hatchiyah hazot. Now here's the key line. Ki kol chidush hi Shira el Hashem yisparach. Anytime you have a chiddush, a novelty, a newness, that warrants Shira. What does this mean? Klomar, kol chidush mevi bikvosav Shira. Everything new brings in its wake Shira. HaChiddush hagadol beyoter b'teva olam. The greatest chiddush that will be in humanity will be what? The resurrection. And that will clearly warrant Shira. Lord Dvarim HaDibur, what does this mean? HaDibur hu yusado shel olam v'adam. Speech is the foundation of who we are. The world was created through speech. Basar mamaros nivra olam lashon hakodesh. This is the way we communicate in this world. However, when something out of this world happens, like it's really what? Extraordinary. At that moment, a person can become what? Speechless. And the only response that you can have that would warrant such a reaction is to do what? Sing Shira. Words can't contain those feelings. What can hold those feelings, what can express those feelings are what? Are Shira. And hence, top left 15, Hamalachim hema sharash haruchani shakol nimsa bebriya. Angels are the spiritual source of everything that's found in creation. V'lachein, therefore, kishenivra abriya chadasha ba'olam. That's why anything that's created in this world, nivra ima b'makbil gam malach chadash. An angel's created. Every time we do a mitzvah, we create a new reality. With it, we create a what? An angel. Hachidush shemalach nivra b'makbil alav hu amarer tatzarich b'shira. And the fact that a malach is created every time something new happens, it's why the malachim are continuously singing what? Shira. Because it's new. This mitzvah never happened before. So malachim are being created all the time. Are you with me here? And therefore, the Shira is being created. I'll add here also parenthetically, this is why Ramasisyahu, Zatzal, and others bring down that if you want to calm a baby, or newborn, you sing to them. Because they're used to the singing of the malachim and Shemayim. That's the language that they are what? That they're familiar with. And that has a soothing effect. Like poor kids, you ever think about them? They went from the highest of the high down to where? Planet Earth. It's a traumatic drop. It brings them back. Hamalach shar to Shira shel Chiddush Ukishuhu gomer lashir et shiro nigmar tafkido ki achidish gam hu kvar lo chidush. Said something very beautiful. The malach then sings Shira, and then it disappears. Why? Because the act is no longer a new act, and therefore they're no longer needed. The job is done. The job was to sing Shira when it was new. This is very deep, but we're trying, yeah? I'm practicing for next week. I'm kidding.
What's the tafel and what's the ikar? The act of a mitzvah?
The act of the mitzvah for us is the ikar. The fact that a malach is created, we should be aware of that, right? Just in that awareness, and that malach is singing Shira to Hashem. Look what was created. Now, when does the malach in general sing Shira? And alos hashachar, in dawn time. Why? Because it's a new day, and the newness of the day warrants warrants Shira as well, because it's hitchachos, it's renewal. So now, in our case, when Yaakov Avinu is vanquishing the angel, so that creates chiddush, that creates renewal, and it would make sense that renewal, that newness of being vanquished, when would be the best time to sing Shira is at the time of chiddush, the time of renewal of the day, which is Alot HaShachar. Now, let's go a little bit deeper here. I'm going to come out, and I'm going to come out on top, so just work with me. We know, the Rabbeinu Bechaye and others in source 16, we say in Shema, we shall love Hashem b'chol levavcha, b'chol nafshecha, u'b'chol modecha. B'chol levavcha is Avram Avinu. B'chol nafshecha, giving up your neshama, nefesh, is Yitzchak Avinu. U'b'chol modecha, with all of your money, is Yaakov Avinu, that he gave meiser of everything. Now, we know that this is a little bit interesting. I go from all my heart, all my soul, to all my money. So they say that some people love their money more than what? Your money or your life, you know? They say, okay, take my life. I'm keeping my money. Like, all right. You'll think about that one. So Lubavitcher Rebbe, Zatzal, has a gewaltig vort, and he's connecting, this Nakuda is connected to that vort. B'chol me'odecha means with all your ma'od, with all your veriness. Yes, there's an idea to love Hashem with all your heart. And yes, there's an idea of dying al Kiddush Hashem with all your soul. But you know it's a higher level? To live with the entirety of your being, giving it over to Hashem with all of your you-ness. So now we can appreciate that is Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu is Ma'od. He's continuously about drawing from the depths of who he is and bringing out newness and discovering. An example of this that he brings in the next paragraph is in last week's Parshat Vayishlah. Yaakov Avinu is by the well, and all the shepherds are hanging out there, and they're waiting for all the shepherds to come, because that stone was really what? Was really heavy to roll it off the well. Yaakov Avinu sees Rachel Imenu, and Vayigal et ha'evet malpia be'er, he rolls it off. Rashi says like a bottle cap, boom, just pops it off. So tell me, how was he able to do that when you needed 30 shepherds, whatever? And the answer is what we say in Tfilas HaGeshem. This is Rav Chaim Shulevitz brings. In Tfilas HaGeshem, we just said it a few weeks ago, Yichad Leiv V'gal Even. What was the strength of Yaakov Avinu? It wasn't Popeyes and spinach. Did they have spinach in those days? I have no idea. In fact, I really couldn't. What? I couldn't care. It wasn't physical strength. He was sitting in the basement and learning all day. He did not work out in the gym, yeah? He had yichud leiv, which means he had tremendous focus of self. He understood, this is what needs to get done. I need to feed the sheep of Rachel Imenu. So he was able to tap into extraordinary strength that he himself was what? Unaware of until that moment. B'diuk. Zo malas b'chol modecha, in the asterisk. L'ishtamesh b'chol ma shetamun b'tochecha. B'chol me'odecha means accessing all the parts that are found in us. Kishadam nikla l'milchama kasha, when a person's in a difficult battle, l'ma'avak asher hu zakuk l'kochot lo regilim k'nei l'natzeach bo, and you need in this struggle strength that you don't even know you have. V'umishtadel b'kol kocho, and you were able to take out, like those all-nighters we had in college. Do any of you remember those? Hello? Remember college? Right? You're able to push yourself in ways that you didn't even know. Liskaber. Az miskalim kochot adirim shayu tmunim b'tocho. Then you discover the different parts in you. Now watch this. Now I can appreciate when Chazal say, Tov ma'od is the Yetzer Hara. Tov is the Yetzer Tov. Tov ma'od is the Yetzer Hara. How so? Let's do the English now. Chazal say Tov Ma'od, very good, refers to the Yetzer Hara. Ramosh Shapiro Zatzal wants to explain that Ma'od means more than just what a person is born with. Ma'od refers to potential. And the Yetzer Hara is the instrument Hashem gave us to bring out our potential. Gewaldig. We see this clearly at a physical level. A person is born with a certain level of strength. When he lifts weights, he increases the strength in his muscles. The opposition is the force that builds his strength. If his muscles are never challenged, they remain weak and undeveloped, with the potential locked inside. Opposition brings... Where did I lose myself? I don't know where it went. I'm going on. The same is true on the spiritual level. The world has Tov, which is apparent, recognizable good. It also has Ma'od, potential we do not see at first glance. Our encounters with evil spur us to develop our potential on every level. For without it, we prefer to stay comfortably inert. I could have stayed in bed this morning. I wouldn't have minded. Any of you feel the same way? Yeah. In fact, Chazal say the Yetzer Hara comes into a person before he's born because without it, the baby would not summon the drive to escape from its mother's womb. It's comfortable in here. Why bother leave? Evil taken alone is evil. But when it's used for good, it makes good stronger. Evil is like a boulder blocking a person's path. If he wants to get to his destination, he must summon his strength and push it aside. And each time he does so, he becomes stronger. Likewise, anyone who wishes to develop himself must constantly push aside the distracting and oppositional boulders that block his path. Doing so affects the transformation. The evil makes him stronger. And thus, in the big picture, the evil becomes part of the good. Part of the good. Yeah.
In Breshit, Sefer Breshit, was it Shabbat? It said Tov Ma'od? And what?
On Friday.
On Friday was because man was created.
Yeah.
Man was
Yeah, exactly.
huge on Friday.
Yeah. Now, let's get back to Yaakov and Yisrael, source 19. Kevan shemidas Yaakov hi midat ma'od. Since the midah of Yaakov Avinu is the midah ma'od, lachein, 19, top right, lachein nitzchono ala malach shel Esav hu davka nitzachon lo muchlat. Because Yaakov Avinu is about ma'od, and ma'od is about continuously finding those deeper parts of ourselves. There are so many layers. If we win one battle, do you know how many more that are found within us that we yet have to discover? Ela nitzachon shemotir adayin makom lehitmodedut lemavak ulemilchama. It's continuously struggling. Ki hahitmodedut hi hamotzia miyakov mitzui kochotav hapnimiyim haturim v'anistarim. All of these battles, which is the essence of Yaakov holding onto the heel, is all about how Yaakov becomes Yaakov. Kol ma'amatz u'ma'amatz, every struggle, motzi miyakov od b'chol me'odecha, brings out more of the chol me'odecha. And hatzlachato shel Yaakov, the success of Yaakov Avinu, he lo b'chaye shalva, elo b'chaye nisyonos, right? Bikesh Yaakov leishe b'shalva, kafat lavrotzel shel Yosef. His life is not about being calm. His life is about b'chol me'odecha, which is a continuous life of struggle. Kol chidush chidush rak b'regei tvato, miyad achar kach hu kvar lo chidush. Yaakov Avinu hu kulo bria shel chidush. Yaakov Avinu's life is all about chiddush. His whole life is, from one moment to another, is about struggling. And when he is able to vanquish these, and each struggle, Shira, and every time he overcomes, that generates in Shamayim what? Shira, more song. Ultimately, Yaakov Avinu, every time he wins, he hits a Yisrael moment. But it's a spiral. He hits a Yisrael moment only to what? To go back to the Yaakov of finding the deeper parts of himself, to then hit another what? Yisrael moment. So this is it, Mitziuto, in the double underline of 26, more kevet. The life of Yaakov Avinu consists of mizmanei ma'avak, times of struggle, shebahem hu nikra Yaakov, which is the Yaakovness in him, the b'chol me'odecha, shemitocham va'al yadam, through those, megiyah hitgalut shel kocho gdulim, he then finds and discovers tremendous kochos he has within himself, hamechunim Yisrael, which are referred to as Yisrael. Like you've made it. And now what? You're back, struggling, Yaakov, Yisrael, and that is our whole lives. And this is us, Rabbi Kluger, 22. We go through hardship. We're required to overcome our external desires, to impose our neshama's desires over our physical tendencies. We must sacrifice something of ourselves, which is unquestionably difficult. But only by doing so, we uncover our powerful bond with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Through these difficulties, we discover our deep-seated connection to Hashem, which is dearer to us than all the pleasures in this world, which makes all the struggles worthwhile. Moving to the next page, source 23. When we're talking about nisyonos, it's not just the big struggles with the malach of Esav, it's the small nisyonos too. When we feel insulted, ashamed, struggling with a subtle difficulty, we stand alone. Every nisayon brings kvod shamayim into this world. Every nisayon brings Shira. And in the future, the Melech HaMashiach is going to show each and every one of us how we grew. What was the result of each of these nisyonos that what we went through. Mashiach will reveal in the bracket in 23 the greatness of each small victory in these personal battles. And this is the special nachas Hashem derives from every single Jew. My friends, let me share with you a story that I think illustrates this. It's a story that happened to me this past Thursday night. So I know you didn't hear the story. I'm out shopping with my daughter for Shabbos on Thursday morning, and my mechutenes calls up. There's no English word for your daughter's mother-in-law. It's only a Hebrew, Yiddish, that they become family. And she calls up and she says, "Are you driving toward Big, Old Beit Shemesh today?" She doesn't drive. I said, "No." "Oh, okay." I said, "What do you need?" So she says she's raising money for a family she knows very well, a Yerushalmi family that has 10 kids, and the girl's getting married, Hachnasas Kala, and she saw an ad at one of these stores that a mixer was on sale for 600 shekels. So she wanted to what? Buy the mixer.
The what?
A mixer. She wanted to buy the mixer. A mixer. So I said, "Okay, does 4 o'clock work for you?" Great, right? Like, obviously, she's not asking me. I mean, she is asking me. She's a very nice person. I like her a lot. So, okay, it wasn't 4, it was 5. Okay, but it was on my time. I say the only place I drive on Thursday is driving people crazy. I have a shir to prepare. That's the beginning and end of my driving on Thursday. And I took the shir with me in the car because if I have an extra minute it's hours. You have no idea putting together a shir. So I drive her down, and it wasn't by big. It was a drive. And we're continuously driving over the 38. And we come to this big warehouse. And she says, do you want to go in? No, I'd rather sit with my shir. Sure, I'd love to join you. And I'm so happy I did, because I got this great story. Now, I have to just preface this by saying that she moved here when she was 2 years old from America. So even though she's American, she's more what? Israeli. And you need to know that for the story. It's like interesting, my daughter, we moved here when she was 9 months, speaks to her in Hebrew and to my son-in-law in English. Well, you go figure that one out, but okay. They say Rat Bet Shemesh are confused people, and this is just part of the confusion language. So we walk into this humongous store, and it's a store that you see that if things got banged along the way or nicked, they'll sell it for a reduced price. That's what the warehouse is. But here they were having like a sale on the sale. So she goes over to one of the fellows there and says to him, can I see the 600 shekel mixer? He shows her the mixer, and she says, this is way too small. If you're going to make an investment, you have to what? Think ahead. She says, do you have a bigger mixer? He shows her a bigger mixer. It was close to 1,400 shekels, 13,900 something. She says to him, look, I'm not buying the mixer for myself. This is going on. This is Israelis. That's why I prefaced it this way. I'm not buying this mixer for myself. I'm buying this for this family. And she describes the poverty in this family. She says, I know them well. They have 10 kids. Each kid has a pair of shoes, one pair of shoes. Now, one pair of shoes isn't for Shabbos and day. It's a one pair of shoes until the shoe is no longer able to be called a what? A shoe. And she says this girl's getting married, and she's starting off with nothing. Could you give me this for 600 shekels? And I'm looking at him, and he is totally what? Not interested in this lady. And the expression on his face is, lady, could you just what? Go away. And I say to her, he's not interested. And she says to me, stand back. And then he goes over to another colleague and tells him this request, and he's also like, leave me alone. He then leaves us and goes to another customer for 10 minutes. And I'm like, could we just get out of here? I've shared to do that. Could we just get out of here? And she says to me, wait. Okay. A lot to look at in the store. It's a pretty big store. After 10 minutes, he comes back and he says to her, what color do you want? She says, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'll take blue. Okay. He gives her the big blue mixer, and she says to him, who should I pay the 600 shekels? And he says, take it. That was a choir of angels at that moment. You saw that he went, it was not chovesh kippah, it was not wearing kippah, it doesn't matter. He went from Yaakov to Yisrael at that moment. It wasn't easy for him. It was 10 minutes of what? Of struggle. 10 minutes of real struggle. And he came out and he said, you know what? Give it to this Kala. It's a beautiful story, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the PS of the story is that on Sunday, somebody came over to me afterwards and said, you know what, I have Meiser money on me. Can I give you 200 shekels toward this Kala? So I said, sure. And I called her up on the way home and I said, I have 200 shekels for you. She says, you won't believe it. She says, she was saying to her mother, I really want to go buy some makeup. And the mother said, well, we have no money. And then I called her and I said, I have 200 shekels. She went and it was exactly 200 shekels, the makeup that she needed. I feel like this couple is having like what? It's tremendous siyata d'shmaya. My friends, we all have these moments where the malachim are singing Shira. It's not Yaakov supplanted by Yisrael. It's Yaakov with Yisrael because that's every Jew. And if we would just be able to attune our ears to the big and small nisyonos we have in our lives, we'd be astounded to hear the Shira and Shemayim. Okay, that, my friends, is only level number 1. I still have a few minutes. Let's do level number 2. Nesiva Shalom. Nesiva Shalom says there are 2 names, Yaakov and Yisrael, 24, because there are 2 wars that we find that Yaakov has. There's a war with Lavan and a war with Esav. The war with Lavan is the Yetzirah of Pegam HaBamoach, is the intellectual battle in Emunah, in Deos, and Ashkafos. Lavan is the one who says, the girls are mine, the sons are mine, everything you see is mine. It's kochi v'otzem yadi. Lavan is about bring God out of the picture. It's all about me. Esav, we know, is the battle of taiva, of desire. Holding on to the heel. Esav is all about the physical desires, right? Give me haliteni nami nadoma adoma zeh. It's about putting our physical desires into check. And he says here, I'm moving a little bit faster here, in 25, V'nei ikar ha'avoda shel Yehudi b'inyan ha'emunah. Where we really need to put our attention is in emunah. Obviously, we have to work on our taivas, our desires, but emunah will help you with your desires as well. Because when you realize that Hashem gives you, Sha'asam kol tzarki, when Hashem gives you everything that you need, you know, it's like showing the popcorn in the movie. Yeah? When Hashem gives you everything that you need, and that why do I need to have that red sports car, or all of these things, it puts a perspective into our desires. And this is why Yaakov Avinu had to go through the love and experience before he's going to meet with the final battle with Esav. Yeah?
You know, I'm still back at the story, and I thought about something. You know how the Yetzirah, it wants you to act fast, because if you act fast, then you lose out.
Right.
And that's what happened in the story, is
Right.
that Rafatasa waited.
Yes,
She waited, and she waited a long time.
she did. She did. Waiting is important. Yeah, I'm glad you liked the story. Work with me, my friends. Work with me. I flipped the page. Masil's Bavav and Rav Eisenberger develops this in Siva Shalom. And he says, now I can appreciate in the double squiggly, when the Malach says that your name is no longer Yaakov, means there was no way you could have possibly just fought me with the koach of Yaakov, of getting over Taifa. Ki im Yisrael, you had to have a new element that was put into you. The element of Yisrael, double squiggly, Ki sarita im Elokim v'im anashim v'tuchal, that you struggled with a God angel and with people and were victorious. Rashi says, why did it say anashim, people, when he's fighting with an angel which is singular? Because you fought with Esav and Lavan. What the Malach is saying is, I know that your strength in being able to hold strong in this battle is that you didn't come into this battle just with Yaakov. You came in with what you gained from Lavan. That aspect of working on strengthening your emunah and bringing Hashem into your life, which is what Yisrael is about. Yaakov is about fighting the taiva. Yisrael is about being able to work on our emunah, the clarity of vision of being able to see. It's not about kochi v'otzem yadi, who and what I am. It's about bringing Hashem into this picture. Now, I'm skipping a little bit. I'm going to get to the punchline here, hopefully. So he says the following. He says, we know Chazal say that if the Yetzer Hara comes to try to get you, bring him to the Beis Medrash, right? Because this is the idea. If the Yetzer Hara is trying to get you, you have to try to fight Yetzer Hara with your Yetzer Hara. Like you have to try to, work on your taivas on the Yaakov level. But if that doesn't work, what do? You bring him to the Beis Medrash and you learn Torah. Torah has the ability to offset what? The Yetzer Hara. So then he has a question, and that's what I want to get to now. In the arrow 31. Mitzad echad, edim anachnu l'ribui atzum shel limud haTorah b'darenu. Right, this is like a 30-page essay. I'm doing a disservice. We see more Torah in our lives, in our generation, than we've ever seen previously. Right, the amount of people sitting and learning around the world is in numbers that you can't even imagine. How come the Yetzer Hara is not been what? Vanquished. We're struggling. Do you know what I'm talking about? The Yetzer Hara, particularly for our rayos, for immorality, which is the last battle before Mashiach comes, is at its height. Right? It's there. So it doesn't make sense. Chazal tell you have a Yetzer Hara, use Yisrael. Go to the Beis Medrash. Why isn't it working? So this is what he's suggesting, and this is where I want to go in the last few minutes. He brings an idea from the Chochmah Musar in 32, where Chazal say, Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu notein Chochmah el l'mi sheyesh bo Chochmah. Hashem only gives wisdom to those who have wisdom. Well, that's a little bit of a problem. What's my problem? How do you get wisdom if you don't have wisdom? So he says, I'll tell you how. There's a wisdom which is found in the way Hashem wired me. Hashem wired me, in the next paragraph, of Nasa Adam b'tzalmenu kidmutenu. He wired me in a way that I am godlike, that I have what we call a seichel hayashar. I have a head on my shoulders, which makes me different than an animal. An animal just pounces. You know, like kids at a kiddush? Any know what that imagery? Yeah? A person with a seichel hayashar will stop and say, should I do this? Should I not do this? And he says this is the idea of derech eretz kadma l'Torah. What is derech eretz? It's the way of the world to use your seichel. You stop and ask, is this the appropriate thing to do or not? One who's able to use their seichel, before Torah comes into the picture, before God comes into the picture, what is the human response in this case? Should I say this? Will this insult the person? V'chulei, v'chulei. Such a person who's used their seichel hayashar, then Hashem can implant and they can be able to receive Torah to then ask the question, will this bring nachas ruach to Hashem? Is this what Hashem wants from me? But even before you get to that stage, you have to use your what? Your head. You ever say that to somebody? Just use your head. What do you think? Like, do you think this is what you should have done? Like, hello? That's the previous seichel. Now here's the punchline for today.
Sorry.
Here's the punchline for today. $36. I want to hear this inside. And again, you can go through the what I've skipped, but here's the punchline. Let's start above 36. L'davon leiv in the asterisks in 35. Kol mevakshe Hashem b'zmanenu, kol metzius ha'olam hi hefech haseichel. We live in a world which does not promote using our head. Hakol mitnahel ayidei hadomim hamitkucham Ve'ilu hadam shenivra b'dat lavinu laskil ein lo sorah klal lachshov. You know what our problem is today? Our problem is we don't use our... You wanted to say something?
Just who wrote that?
This is Rav Eisenberger. He lives in Borough Park. He's a contemporary. We don't use our head. And he gives 4 examples, and I want to share them with you. Example number 1. Who does math in their head? If you're in a store and you need to know a certain amount, even my dumb phone, which is really a smartphone, but even though they call it a dumb phone, has a calculator on it. Who needs to think about math? I just pull out what? Calculator. Example number 2, Waze. Waze. You know, like again, my childhood memory is my parents going to AAA, getting a trip tech, yeah, and then they would highlight the road, and my mother, Allah Shalom, would sit in the car and say to my father, there looks like a little road here that we could try to take. Who does that today? You get in the car and you don't think. You just follow Waze like a what?
Robot.
A robot until you're there. Example number 3, phone numbers. Someone asks me for my daughter's number. I say to her, 6. 6 what? It's 6 on my speed dial. I don't know the number. And I'll tell you a scary story that mamish happened. When I was in this bus accident, when this bus rammed into me like 2 or 3 years ago, my phone is normally on silent because I'm teaching. And the phone went flying. I couldn't find it in the car because it was on silent. So a lady, a very nice lady, pulled over, tried to help me, says, here, use my phone and call your husband. I can't. I called my house phone, but my house phone is call forwarding to me. And he figured I'd pick it up. I had to call my friend whose number, house number I remember, I don't know her cell phone, and she went over and knocked on my husband's door. Is that scary? We're not using our what? Our mind. And then he says a 4th example. And I want you to hear this example. He says, and I understand there's a positive aspect. I want us to hear what he's saying. I'm doing this all, it's all here. He says, even in teaching, we use graphs and we use pictures, which are good. But we are taking away from what? Yeah, using our head. And he says in 36, Din grama din nazikin shekol hametzius hateknologika hitchakum shalolam garam lanashim labedet hasechel v'chishva atzmit. We're not even talking about being in the Beis Medrash. We're talking about that basic seichel hayashar that Hashem gave us. Beyod v'kol memukshav b'shvilam b'amsod kelim mekelim shonim, which is all from... And he's not even mentioning AI and ChatGPT. This is, you know, like I've had people say to me, Shira, why are you working so hard? You could have ChatGPT, just give them a topic and they'll tell you all the sources. Why are you actually opening up books? I could do this for Torah tidbits. I could feed ChatGPT the last 5 years of Torah tidbits. I could. They would know my style of writing, and they could write Torah tidbits for me, and I would save myself a good hour every week. Amazing? No. What?
Do not rely on the sources.
I understand, don't rely on the source, so they know. Listen to this, and as a result of this, gam kol ha-Yiddishkeit hu mibli dat. Our Yiddishkeit without thinking. Mishe'ein hadam nasa even l'sichlo. Kol inyanei yaduto ba'im rak mitochi Torah leiv bilvad. We're just into that momentary inspiration, that, you know, that kumzitz, that concert. But it's not about how can I take it and make it mine and use my head to think. And he says, if I'm not using my head in so many areas of my life, and I just gave a few examples, then is it any wonder that my head is not being used to the fullest extent? And while I'm involved in Yaakov, the Yisrael, which is the same letters as Li Rosh, I have a head, can't be found. And therefore the Yisrael can't vanquish and help us with the Yaakov struggles in our life. And that's where our avoda is. You had a question?
Yes, kind of going back to the previous idea, but what is it about struggle? Like, why did God, I guess, create struggle? Why can't we, get to ourselves through beauty, through pleasure?
Good,
Joy?
excellent question. Let me repeat it because it's a well worth question. Why is it that we only get through God through struggle and not through beauty and pleasure? So it's like a major question. And on one foot, we do. We do get through God with beauty, marabu masecha. At the same time, why did God create this world that way? I don't know. And if I did know, you wouldn't want to serve a God that you understand. Just think about that one. The way it is wired, it's through struggle that we become what? We find the different parts of us. If you're able to find it, the Sfarim say this, that if you're able to find a relationship with Hashem in goodness, you're not going to need the same amount of struggles. So it's up to us to choose how we're going to what? How we're going to develop ourselves. That's really the bottom line. But our job, and this is what Michael Tursky says in 39, is when you're asked your name, who are you, Yaakov? Keep in mind, you're a Yisrael. Without a reason for it. This is your essence. Your essence is Yisrael. No, we have the ability for angels to sing Shira over us. We have the ability of Lee Rose to use our heads. And in any opportunity we have to really fine-tune those head examples, let's use it. Let's flex that muscle. Because it's not just about using it for the math problem. It's using it for our Yiddishkeit. It's using it to be stronger in our avodas Hashem. My friends, let me just end with where I began. Next week, we will not be having a shir. There's no shir next week. Chanukah, Im Yirtzeh Hashem, we will be back. And if anyone would like already a pre-Chanukah gift to give some, you will take. Great, I'll give you change.
Thank you so much.
You should just know your preparation does not go unnoticed
Yeah.
and unappreciated. It's very noticed and appreciated.
When we named one of my boys, I wanted the name to be David Yonatan. That's what I wanted. And when the name came out,